What does it take to shut down a hospital? Inhumane conditions? Unethical experiments? How about a ghost? There are many psychiatric hospitals around the world that have been left to rot, and several of these are hubs for supernatural phenomena. Intrepid explorers have returned to these locations only to be hounded out by entities, otherworldly spirits that have claimed the silent wards as their own. These are 10 haunted, abandoned psychiatric hospitals. Number 10 is Fool's Tower. Also known as Narenturm Fool's Tower in Vienna, Austria, is the oldest psychiatric hospital in Europe. Though its doors have been long shut to patients and parts of it converted into a museum, the abandoned sections of this building are said to be stalked by horrors that are beyond imagination. Built in 1784, Narenturm was constructed like a fortress in order to keep patients away from the public at a time when mental health was not understood. Specimen jars and gruesome surgical tools can still be found there, with many visitors encountering strange white apparitions attached to these medical relics. Whether these apparitions are the ghosts of patients or the medical staff who worked there, no one can be sure. What is certain is that something unknown to modern science continues to claim the Narenturm for itself. Number 9 is Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Built in 1910, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium is as infamous now as it was when it was in operation. When it was first constructed, this psychiatric hospital was envisioned as a tuberculosis hospital. It's estimated that over 60,000 patients died within its walls, many of it a result of mistreatment. When the building was converted into a sanatorium, there were rumors of apparitions being seen in the hallways and cells. Now defunct, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium stands empty as a reminder of just how cruel we can be to each other. The cruelty was taken to its limits, where bizarre experiments were rumored to have been carried out on patients. The result? A residual memory of the pain stored within its walls, waiting to unleash its presence on those who are careless enough to cross the sanatorium's threshold. Number 8 is Danvers State Hospital. From the moment Danvers State Hospital opened its doors in 1878, it earned a terrifying reputation. The hospital, located in Danvers, Massachusetts, is comprised of a number of buildings, all of which are connected by a series of sinister underground tunnels. Though it was initially designed to hold just 500 patients, by the early 1900s, over 2,000 people were treated there. Among those treatments were thousands of horrific lobotomies and electric shock therapy sessions. Even before it closed, the asylum was rumored to be in the grips of a malevolent supernatural force. Many believe this is because of what took place on the land previously. You see, the town of Danvers used to have another name. That name was Salem, the very place where the infamous Salem witch trials took place. Number 7 is the Beechworth Asylum. This decommissioned hospital can be found in the town of Victoria, Australia. Built in 1867, patients were treated within its walls as recently as 1995, when it was closed down permanently. Though it at first appears to be a more serene place than any other asylums on this list, patients were held against their will. Tall red brick walls were used to stop anyone from escaping. The walls were known as ha-ha walls because those running the asylum dug a trench at the bottom of them. This created the illusion that the walls could be climbed easily, further torturing patients. Ever since the asylum was closed down, it's been the scene of several horrifying brushes with the supernatural. The investigators who have explored Beechworth claim to have seen the same eerie shape of an elderly man walking the empty halls, looking to do harm to the living. Number 6 is the Allegheny Asylum. The Allegheny Asylum in West Virginia was built to house 250 people all the way back in 1864. But by 1954, its patients numbered well over 2,000. Horrific overcrowding, compounded by poor sanitation, resulted in patients living in unbearable conditions. The asylum eventually became home to the notorious West Virginia lobotomy project. As recently as the 1980s, Allegheny asylum patients were brutally locked in cages if they did not behave as their keepers wished, resulting in the closure of the asylum in 1994. Numerous paranormal investigators have explored the building, encountering deranged apparitions searching for human victims, including one of the most famous criminals of all time, Charles Manson. He stayed at the asylum previously, and since his passing, what's left of him has tried to scare off many a visitor. Number 5 is the Ganjam Psychiatric Hospital. Widely regarded as a highly active paranormal location in South Korea, the history of the Ganjam Psychiatric Hospital is the stuff of legend and nightmares. Those who have had dealings with the now vacant hospital claim that it was stained by death. During the building's operation, patients died of unknown causes, resulting in the facility's closure. One theory behind those deaths is that the owner of the hospital had a twisted practice of locking patients up in horrible conditions until they breathed their last. Since then, people have heard disembodied screams echoing through the empty halls of the Ganjam, along with footsteps and unseen grasping hands, pulling people into the shadowy corners of the very places where many of the mistreated patients allegedly died. Number 4 is the Lie Psychos. The Lie Psychos facility operated between 1926 and 1985. In that time, it was associated with human experimentation. Many of these experiments from just after the Second World War until its closure involved drugs. Some of those drugs are rumored to have been psychedelic in nature, pushing each patient's experience of the world to its limits. Those experiments involved a strange mixture of LSD, newly developed pharmaceuticals, and surgical manipulation of the brain through incisions. Concerned caregivers at the hospital came forward as whistleblowers, exposing the terrible conditions found inside the hospital's walls. Now the corridors and rooms are empty, but they are not quite vacant. Some believe that the psychedelic experimentation broke through a psychic barrier and brought something back into our world. Number 3 is the Rolling Hills Asylum. Rolling Hills Asylum, New York, was where the forgotten were kept. Those who had mental health problems or developmental issues were thrown inside with criminals and those with violent tendencies. After it opened its doors in 1827, it did not take long for the asylum to amass nearly 2,000 deaths within its grounds. Because those poor individuals had been abandoned or taken away from their families, they were not given a normal burial or cremation. Instead, many of their remains were scattered into unmarked mass graves, which surrounded the main asylum building. Those bodies are still there today, and investigators have found that they are less than silent. Tormented by the past and by those who disturb them while they sleep, the spirits do not appreciate visitors and manifest themselves as shadowy specters of death to ward off the curious. Number 2 is the Whittingham Hospital. From its humble beginning in 1873, Whittingham Hospital treated patients for a century and became Britain's largest psychiatric hospital. Throughout its history, Whittingham was at the center of several tragic events and scandals. This included the violent mistreatment of both staff and patients. Since its closure, the hospital has become a hotbed of paranormal activity. One terrifying apparition that's often seen on the grounds of the now abandoned hospital is that of a ghostly woman. In her arms, she cradles a screaming baby. This figure is as tragic as it is frightening. Many single mothers would have been thrown into the asylum during the 1800s for simply having given birth out of wedlock. It appears that one of these poor souls now haunts the area, and really, who could blame her if she no longer looked upon human beings with affection? And number 1 is Clovis Avenue Sanatorium. Clovis Avenue Sanatorium in California was built in 1922 as Wolf Manor, only becoming a psychiatric hospital when the owner went bankrupt and had to sell it. Clovis Avenue was notorious for being overcrowded and for many of its patients dying. Because the building wasn't assigned as an asylum, there was no morgue. For this reason, patients who passed were thrown into the basement. It was converted into a haunted house attraction in 1997, but this seemed to provoke a genuine supernatural response. People reported being pulled to the ground by malevolent apparitions. Later, the building was abandoned. However, local police recorded 911 calls coming from inside the old facility after this. A curious thing, since there was no phone line connected to the house. It was abandoned by people, but not its former patients. But as always, thank you for watching, for liking this video, and for subscribing to my channel. And a very special thank you to all of my channel members, especially the names you see on your screen right now. All of you help keep my channel going. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.